Hey, my name's James Nicholson. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about what happened this year in property investing. It's been a very eventful year, probably the most eventful in the 22 years that I've been investing in property. So much has happened. There's also a lot of opportunity created off the back of that as well. There's tons of people quitting that don't realize the opportunity, and there's potentially a rocky road ahead in 2024. So let's look at everything that happened, how it impacts us, what's the opportunity, can we make some money, did we make some money, have our house prices crashed? Let's see what happened in 2023. Now, before we jump into this, as always, do make sure that you smash subscribe and hit the bell notification. We're going to hit 20,000 subscribers very, very soon. And while you're here, smash the like button, tickle the like button, do something. Don't be a Scrooge. It's Christmas. It won't kill you to press that like button over there, and it will really help us get more views on the channel. So what a year. What a year. It's been absolutely crazy this year. So much has gone on, and it really has impacted investors. It's impacted tenants, and the uncertainty has just been absolutely crazy. So let's have a look through this list and what this means for you guys. So first off, a market crash. This was touted by the media, by YouTubers, by all sorts of people. And it made sense. Like, this is the second time in recent years that I felt it should happen. First was during the pandemic. Now, during the pandemic, we were locked down, businesses were shut, staff were furloughed, restaurants and businesses, while they got bounce back loans and stuff like that, it was nowhere near the amount of money they would have made if they were open. And I would have looked at that and said, this means the market has to go down. And it didn't. It had two of its best years back to back off of that. And house prices just absolutely shot up. I started investing for my two daughters, Georgia and Amelie. That's why we started this channel during that time. And that really was difficult. I remember we were looking for properties for Georgia, my eldest daughter, first, and it was really hard to find stuff. We were looking at auctions, and a 60 grand house was going for 65. People were paying more than I could have bought with the agents. Eventually, we did find something in an auction with a smaller auction house, so there was less competition, but it was really, really hard. Now, 2022 is where most people started thinking about inflation. We peaked at 11.1%, really, really high inflation there. And at the back end of 2022 was when we started to see house prices drop. The first 9 months were very, very good. The last 3, we actually went down, but on average in 22, house prices were up. But October, November, December, we went down around 1% per month. And it made sense that that would continue into 2023. So that was the belief, that we would start 23, house prices would carry on going down, but they didn't. They stuck where they were. We had some months where it went up. We had some months where it went down. We had so many interest rate rises during that time. We had less buyers on the market. And all of this fed that we should have a house collapse, but we still didn't have that. So 2023, house prices have just remained flat. We've had 0.1% up, 1% down, 1% up. And so on the whole, house prices, give or take 1% up or down, have not really moved in 2023. For the price to crash, you need to be down more than 10% in a calendar year. So what's next been going on? Well, inflation has been really sticky in the UK. We did a video yesterday. Inflation has now started to drop. It had a good drop in November 23, which was good. But throughout the summer this year, when everyone else was getting to 2 and 3%, Spain did really well with their inflation. We were at 6% still. So what does that impact have on investors and people like that? Well, it really hits your tenants. And so we've had some tenants that have had difficulty paying, and we've had to come up with solutions for them. And that has been difficult for them. And we've helped them through those difficult times. For landlords, if you've got debt, it's actually been pretty good because the value of your debt has been eroded by inflation. So if you owe 100 grand, effectively that 100 grand is only worth 90,000 a year later because inflation was above 11%, right? And so the buying power of that 100 grand is less, which is good for those that hold debt. So if you are a portfolio landlord with no debt, didn't really impact you. If you have lots of mortgages, it did erode that debt, which was good. Now, we also call this a silent property crash. House prices, while they haven't dropped in nominal terms, the actual price of the house is stuck around. The value of that house has dropped because if you sold it, what you could buy with that today is less because things have gone up with inflation. So while the housing market's been flat, prices on everything else has been going up. So if you sold that house to buy the new products, the products are more expensive, so you'd get less of them. And so we call that a silent property crash. That's actually a better way for house prices to go down. It does bring up affordability for people because in general, I know in the comments people are going to say, wages haven't gone up for me, but in general, wages have gone up and they're starting to go up above inflation for a lot of people. So that's good. Section 21. Now, this has meant some landlords have left the market. Section 21 is called a no-fault eviction. It means for any reason you can get rid of a tenant and get your property back, do what you like with it, refurbish it, sell it, or something like that. Now, the government is not really happy with this type of eviction process because some landlords have been taking the absolute mickey with this. They've been taking people out, making them homeless, and then jacking up the rent for the next tenant that comes in. And so that's why it's going to be looked at to be gone. The Conservatives were going to just abolish it. Now they've changed that stance slightly. And what the stance is right now is that they're going to remove Section 21, but when the courts are ready. So when there's a good court process in place, they will get rid of this. And that's going to be really, really important. Now, that puts off landlords because they want to be able to get their property back quickly if they've got a problem. The other eviction process is slow, can take months. You can have a sitting tenant there and it can be a real disaster. So Section 21, the Conservatives have said it is going to go, but not till the courts are ready. Labour, if they get into power, they're saying they'll abolish it straight away. And so that could happen next year. Next, this has been one of the most popular topics on this channel, and that's leaseholds. And so the Conservatives have brought through an act of Parliament to abolish leaseholds. Now, you've got to have some clarity on this. It's going to be abolished for new build houses. That will be brought into the bill. There's been various readings of it where it hasn't been discussed, but it's very likely, most people believe it will just come in on a further reading and when the bill's actually getting worked on officially. So new build houses won't have leaseholds. If you're an existing leaseholder, leaseholds are going to get vastly improved. You'll be able to extend from 90 years, where you can now, to 990 years. So that means you'll never have to do a lease extension again in your lifetime. If you extend your lease, the ground rent will be abolished as well. Service charges, which are a big bane and frustration for a lot of people, they're going to be way more transparent. You're going to be able to question the service charge. If the agent that runs it for you, if they are getting kickbacks on insurance, you're able to ask, what is the kickback and the percentage? They're not going to be able to do that anymore. They're only going to be able to charge a fee for running that insurance for you. And so it's a very, very greatly improved process. Now, Labour are still saying if they get into power, they will abolish leasehold and make it common hold. Don't think that that will be easy to do, but this improvement on leasehold is going to be greatly received by millions of leaseholders in the UK. One thing as well, not only can you extend your lease from 90 years to 990 years, you'll also have reduced costs of doing that. So that is going to be an absolute winner for a lot of people. Next, interest rates. Wow, we have made over 100 videos on interest rates this year. So interest rates, they've gone up a lot. interest rates went up 14 times from 0.1% to 5.25, the base rate that the Bank of England set their rate at. Now, when we had the mini budget at the back end of last year, lenders were freaking out. Rates weren't that high at that stage because we had about 8 increases since then, but they didn't know where we were going to end up. We had Liz Truss in charge of the government for a brief period of time, and during that time, as the banks got spooked, the interest rate that you could get went up to above 6.5%. And people were really worried that you might get 8 or 9% interest rates, which would have been brutal. Now, since then, while the fact that the Bank of England has raised rates, the lenders have actually reduced rates. And today you can get a rate at 4.5%. And it's expected that you'll be able to get a rate in January or February at 3.99% because of the change in the market. The banks borrow off something called a swap rate. Those have been coming down. The drop in inflation this week also impacts that swap rate as well. That is good news. Interest rates have been really, really difficult, but I think next year we're going to start seeing them go down. The markets are telling us that there's a very high chance of rates being down by May, and also 50% of analysts believe that rates could come down as early as March 2024. So that is making a big difference. The affordability, while the lender rate is coming down, is improving, and that hopefully will stimulate the market a bit more next year. Next is EPCs, Energy Performance Certificates. Now, these were a big worry to a lot of landlords, because we were told by 2025 you had to have it at a level C or you couldn't rent out the property. Now, that was a big concern, because if you have a terraced house, a Victorian house, it could be nearly impossible to get it to a level C. Very, very tough indeed to do that. And so what's happened is we've looked at this, and the landlords are saying the EPC rating is now abolished. And so you need an EPC to rent it, you need an EPC to sell it, so people know what energy efficiency that property has, but you don't have to get it to a level C by 25 in order to actually rent it out. Now, Labour have also said that could come back, so that could be a nasty surprise for landlords next year, but right now that's taken some pressure off. Labour are no way going to come back, win an election 24, so you've got to do this by 25. Whatever happens, there'll be more time and hopefully a clearer path, because while we still believed it was going to happen in 25, it wasn't really clear what needed to be done, how much needed to be spent, because some properties are impossible to get to a level C. Does that mean you couldn't rent them out? Like, does that mean that they would just be taken off the market? Because that would be a disaster for renters as well. What also happened in 23 is rent went crazy. Rents rose at record rates. And my belief is that this is purely down to the Bank of England increasing those interest rates. I blame them for that. Now, ironically, rent is factored into the inflation calculation. It's one of people's biggest costs every single month, and the higher interest rates meant that mortgage rates for landlords went way higher, sky high. In fact, speaking to my broker, some landlords' mortgages tripled, some quadrupled, and he had one landlord that their rate went up 6 times. 6 times the amount on a monthly payment. So unfortunately, that got passed on to tenants, and that's going to stay high. Rents won't come down, in my opinion, because we've still got a lack of rental stock, and that's a real big problem. So they need to fix this inflation quickly, bring the interest rates down, and stop these rents going up, because they're becoming unaffordable. A lot of landlords quit in 23. And that's because of a lot of these different things. People that are landlords, some of them still believe EPCs are a problem for them, even though that's gone. The interest rates, the Section 21, something called Section 24, which is the tax system, is not set for landlords at the moment. So over the last few years, 30% of landlords quit. 30%. That's helping drive up rents as well. A lot of people in the comments when we talk about this stuff say, great, get rid of the landlords. Trust me, you don't want your local council being your landlord. They are worse than any landlord you can imagine. And so it's been an eventful year. A lot of stuff has happened this year. I think there's more exciting stuff ahead for 2024. In fact, I think there's actually a lot of opportunity in 2024 to make some good money with property. And so my suggestion is that you get educated, understand the property market, find the areas that make good investments. Check out content that I've made on what strategies actually will work in 2024 and make it a really good one for you. Let me know what you think. Have I missed out anything on 2023's update? Do comment below. Look, if you got this far and you haven't smashed the like button already, smash the like button. It'll take you 2 seconds. Make it blue. It will mean you'll have a wonderful Christmas. Do check out some other content on my channel. Why don't you go and watch this video right here?